Comic Book Resources brought a very interesting article that actually caught my attention. I originally got this from Clownfish TV on YouTube, and they had an interesting take on the matter. So major shout out to them for bringing that to my attention. I'll have a link to their video in the description below if you guys want to watch their video. It's going to be there. But anyway, I want to go ahead and give out my own take on this matter. So this was published by John Konopelski about 2 days ago, and it basically goes on about classic 80 cartoons that deserve a reboot, which to be brutally honest, it could be doable, but there are some very high risks that have to be taken in order for this to happen, and to be done correctly, of course. Now, the article says here as followed: the 1980s was a tubular time in history. Well, yes, well, I was born in 1990, but the 1980s cartoons were something else for sure. Everyone remembers Sony Walkman cassette players, bright neon colored clothes, VHS movies, and MTV music videos. Oh yeah, those were the times. Another thing this decade is fondly remembered for is the many different cartoons that have aired. Some were shown every day of the week, while kids had to wait anxiously every Saturday morning to watch other cartoons while chomping down on their favorite sugar-infused cereal and milk. Yep, and I was one of them too, believe it or not. This is one of the decades known for creating some of the best and most missed cartoons that ever aired on TV. From the original Transformers to Thundercats to Gem and the Holograms, which is something I never knew about. There were seemingly unlimited shows for everyone to watch that captured their attention like nothing else. Now that it has been approximately 40 years since many of these anime programs originally premiered, it would be a perfect time to bring them back. But then again, you know, there's a huge risk to take with that. I'll go into that into more detail from my perspective later on. The kids who originally watched them are now adults with their own kids who have an excellent time watching reboots from these classic 80s cartoons. Yeah, but there are some major issues which I'll go into in a moment. So basically what this article is covering is like, you have Garfield and Friends here. You have the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, which I didn't really get to watch until I was in middle school. I actually had to watch this on the internet, believe it or not. And there was also the Legend of Zelda TV series, which is actually on here. And yeah, these are all cartoons that everyone grew up with. Alvin and the Chipmunks is also one of them that I grew up with. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole list of this, but I do want to focus on my two favorites that need my attention the most here. So the first one we'll be talking about is the Super Mario Brothers Super Show that first started back in 1989. Wow, just like a year before I was born. So it says here that video games are another thing the 1980s is most known for. This decade is when many now well-known video game companies and their characters are first introduced to pop culture. One of the most popular is Nintendo's Mario Brothers, comprised of Mario, and Luigi Mario. Yes, Mario is their last name, in case you didn't know. They were first brought to the attention of U.S. audiences in 1985 when they starred in the game included with the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, video game console, Mario Brothers. And 4 years later, the brothers were able to jump from the NES 8-bit sprites to hand-drawn cartoons with the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. This hybrid show depicted the live-action actors of Mario, played by the late Lou Albano, and Luigi, who was played by the late Danny Wells, who would then seek into the animated adventures of their own characters. This show typically aired in the afternoons on Mondays through Thursdays of each week, with The Legend of Zelda being aired on Friday. This show was part of a troop familiar in the late 1980s. A live actor would introduce a cartoon, which honestly was like very brilliant at the time. This series was so different because live actors in the animated cartoons portrayed the same characters. Unfortunately, this show only aired for one season due to the storylines being a bit cheesy and very little evolution within the season by the live actors and the cartoons. Well, I kind of have to disagree with that because this show's great. However, fans did grow to love this original Super Mario Brothers cartoon over time, which happened to me, of course, as I was growing older. But now Mario and Luigi are huge names in the world of entertainment. It would be effortless for a TV network or streaming service to reboot this cartoon. Whether they would keep the live actors would be up to them. Well, they have passed away now, unfortunately, but the cartoon would be the central area of focus. With the massive success of the Super Mario Brothers movie back in 2023 last year, fans are definitely wanting as much as they can get from these pipe-jumping brothers. It would be fun to see the hand-drawn animation style updated to match the current video games, and each episode could contain a lessons for kids watching. Okay, so let me just make a couple points of my own here. Now, I used to think that reboots of old cartoons would be okay, but sadly for some cartoons like the Powerpuff Girls, that was something that made me change my mind about reboots entirely. If you're going to reboot something, there's going to be a lot of risks that people have to take, and I don't know if it's going to really work out for the Super Mario Brothers Super Show to be fully rebooted to the modern audience. I mean, let's be real here. They're going to have to change like a lot of stuff from the old one to the new one, and because of the old voice actors passed away now, it's going to be a lot difficult to fully reanimate all of this into the modern world. Now, yes, I know there are adults who have kids of their own who want to show these old cartoons to their kids, and you know what? I'm perfect with that actually, because kids today need to understand how much life and how much quality there was in these old cartoons. Now, yes, some of them, like the Legend of Zelda TV series, wasn't the best, but they still have a special place in our hearts somehow. The next thing I want to talk about now is, of course, the Legend of Zelda TV series that aired like every week on Fridays, where the Super Mario Bros. Super Show only aired 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday. The article says here that the 80s brought another Nintendo video game franchise to the cartoon world, which is, of course, The Legend of Zelda. It was an animated series based on the popular video game series of the same name. This show also aired on the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, but only on Fridays, which was stated already. This series followed the adventures of young Link, Princess Zelda of the Hyrule Kingdom, and their fairy friend Sprite as they attempted to regain the Triforce of Wisdom from the hands of the evil wizard Ganon. Link could shoot power beams from his sword, while Princess Zelda had a magical bow that shot arrows of light that they used against all the monsters they encountered on the show. Unfortunately, this show was pretty bad when it originally aired. The voice acting was subpar, yes, I agree with that, and the storylines were very basic. Well, I mean, this show only had like 10 episodes when this first came out, so I was when I first watched this back when I was in middle school, I was like in 7th grade when I first watching this. I kind of expected too much out of this cartoon, and when I first watched it, well, I mean, yes, I will admit I was disappointed by what I've seen instead. So yeah. Now, I wouldn't really say that I hate this show. I mean, I actually like how I kind of like how these characters were designed in their cartoon. It gives off that 90s animation feel. So that's like one good thing to come out of it. Ironically, it is for these reasons that the cartoon has become a fan favorite and became the subject of memes. With how huge the Zelda franchise has become for Nintendo, now would be the perfect time to bring back the series. Well, honestly, there's a very fat chance of that happening. Let's face it. The base storyline could stay the same, but would need a major upgrade regarding the animation style, especially the voice acting. The showrunners could make it a spin-off. A spin-off series from one of the games that already exists, or to have it exist in its own individual universe. Regardless, fans of this franchise would go wild if they got a reboot of this silly 80s cartoon. The one thing that really bothered me about the Zelda cartoon in general was that Princess Zelda in that TV series would always be a jerk to Link for and always refusing to give him a kiss whenever he wanted it. But to be fair, though, there were some episodes from that TV series where Link actually deserved a kiss from Princess Zelda herself. So I don't know if it's going to be really possible to actually reboot all this. There's going to have to be like a lot of risks to take in order to make this reboot rather proper. But then again, there are a lot of risks that have to be taken in order for this to happen correctly. All right, so ironically enough, we already know that Nintendo is actually making a live action Legend of Zelda movie. Now, just keep in mind though that we don't have a trailer or anything just yet about it. All we know is that it's going to come out probably in the next 2 years. I don't know what it's going to really be like. I'm actually really nervous about it. Not going to lie. I'm really hoping that Nintendo will selectively have a really good cast for the movie. And the way I see it is that they're gonna have to find some unique actors and actresses to make the movie work well, rather than just picking the Hollywood big names, which I'm not going to go into for personal reasons. So, yeah, the idea of rebooting these 80s cartoons, I mean, it might work, but at the same time, I personally think that the cartoons from the 80s are fine just the way they are. And the Legend of Zelda TV series, especially, is also perfect the way it is, even though it didn't do as well as the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. But we'll have to find out later as to whether or not these people are willing to get these old animated series rebooted. It's not guaranteed that will happen, but we're just going to have to play it by ear and see what happens later on. This is Major League Gaming, logging out. Thank you for watching.